Okay. I've been watching you solve these puzzles, and this body replication tech is incredible. It just casually blows up the very foundations of our society.
What do you mean?
Do you have any idea how hard it is to make more of us? We're not like a toaster. You don't just weld together a couple of wires and a motherboard and call it a day.
Hmm.
To mention how hard it is to even find some of the materials. And this thing just, poof, new human.
But the goal was to stop at 1,000, wasn't it?
It was. Or was it? And even if it was, sorry to be heretical, but does it matter? If we can figure out how this works, we can finally, easily create more people. We can grow. We can expand. We can build a real civilization.
This is not real, is it?
Isn't that worth pursuing?
What we're doing right now isn't real. It's our cosmic duty to spread consciousness. Maybe there's some point where there's enough people, but this is not it. Maybe there are legitimate reasons to limit the population. This is very dangerous. We decide to limit ourselves for a reason. Maybe there are legitimate reasons, to limit the population.
The mayor seems to think so. But why? What are the actual reasons?
Didn't they say about enforcing your will on the planet or something? The goal was set by the founder. She must have known what she was doing. We risk upsetting the balance of nature like our ancestors did. The planet is more important than us. We should not impose ourselves on it. We seem to be doing fine the way we are. Actually, you're right. I can't think of a serious reason. So this is more like these two. We risk upsetting nature's balance and the planet being more important than us. Those are two reasons that I think is most prominent. But if we consider ourselves as part of natural evolution, right, like intelligence and everything that comes out of it as part of nature's intent, to some degree, even if it's not nature's intent, it's a byproduct of nature. It is natural in a sense. Whatever destruction we cause, it is caused by consciousness. Maybe that aspect of nature isn't as well integrated as the rest of the less sentient creatures and their life cycles and ecosystems. But in a sense, we are still part of the nature, and it created us, our consciousness, and all the aftermath of what that consciousness gets up to. That is part of the natural process. If the world blows up, that's also kind of part of the natural process. We can draw a distinction because we are conscious and we know the broader picture because we are intelligent enough to see that. But that intelligence was also part of the natural process, like the development of that intelligence. So it can be argued both ways. But if we want to sustain and understand more of the world, I don't think extreme growth is the way to go about it. We can grow, but we have to be more understanding of ourselves. We have to have more knowledge and understanding before we embark on that venture, recklessly replicating ourselves. And I the Talos Principle's second explanation, or the second kind of perspective of the idea of Talos Principle, by expanding it to the universe itself, where the universe is a machine. That's kind of the theme that Athena was holding on to, right? And this is Talos Principle 2. And I feel like all these extreme phenomena that we witness, not phenomena, the technology that we witness, that Melville has no foundation of. She keeps repeating that. She has no idea what's going on. And she's the best engineer we have, right? And that kind of inclines me to believe that this world is also maybe a second simulation. It's a pretty blatant idea. Obviously, there could be so much more nuance to it, but in a very obvious way, we can think that this this world that we were born into, the one the androids woke up into, that's still part of a second simulation testing us. A second understanding that has to be reached before we go out into the real world. That would explain the extremely high level of technology that Melville is witnessing here. She can't relate it to any physical phenomena. It breaks the laws of physics, right? and that's possible because that could be possible because it's just a simulation and we can do anything in it. But yeah, that's fine. We'll obviously we'll discover more of the story, but it's fun to speculate, and this is the time to do it because afterwards we'll know the truth. We risk upsetting the balance of nature like our ancestors did.
What balance? The balance of nature is just a snapshot of an arbitrary point in time. The planet changes constantly, causing extinctions left and right. Ice ages come and go. The oxygen level fluctuates. The oceans rise and fall. The only reason our ancestors believed in this balance is because their bloody lifespans were so short.
That's absolutely true, by the way. When you like zoom out in a time scale, when you have the broader picture of the time scale, these are really inconsequential events, like the evolution of intelligence and the effects that it brings to its ecosystem due to that intelligence. Over time, that will just be perceived as a natural process. It wouldn't be so extreme as we ourselves make it out to be, the climate change and everything else, because we are so close to the event, and the time span that we are looking at is so short, and we are so close to the time span that we can't see the broader picture. So that's a very valid thing to think about, but at the same time we are right now experiencing it, so we have to be careful about the immediate experience that we are providing to the rest of the community we are in, right? That's where it becomes a bit more real, I would say. Like maybe your grandchildren are going to experience some drastic will be in a drastic condition because of your actions if you're not careful, and that's important to you as a person. In a broader time scale, from if you're looking at the universe, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. You're right, I hadn't thought about it that way. What about the risk to civilization if there's so many of us that we damage the planet? Yeah, that's the more immediate concern. From a community perspective, from a civilization perspective, are we responsible to maintain this, right?
But there's no correlation between the amount of people and changes to the ecosphere. Not unless we're talking a population of trillions. There's nothing mystical about this. No ifs and maybes. I've run the maths. It's how we use our resources, not how many of us there are.
You are right about this, like very principled things, but if you think about the practicality, like at time, like there is a time where it's going to reach trillions unless we hold ourselves to a standard, right? The more of us there are, the more likely we are to use our resources badly. Yeah, it has to be much more stricter. Our principles has to be written down and legislated and executed with perfection. If we are not to let it slip. 1,000 was just a number that founder came up with, right? It could have been a different number, but the idea is we have to be very careful about how we expand ourselves, like expand the civilization. If we do it recklessly without thought, it can lead to like what happened earlier to humans. So at least that's a principle. 1,000 is maybe a very small number. So yeah, let's just try to push this person and get their perspective much, like obviously we can only choose a couple of sentences here, and let's go with this one. But the more of us there are, the more likely we are to use our resources badly.
I suppose you might be right. Human history is certainly a mixed bag. Well, I'll think about it. You go solve puzzles.
Okay, so we are able to push up. Like this is an extremely good conversation, and these are the kind of people that I don't know. We'll be able to find people like this in real life, like to have conversations of this depth. Usually, people don't stick around to do that. But yeah, and they won't be like temperamental enough to stay level-headed throughout the conversation. But if we can, it's incredibly insightful to have these kind of discussions, Talk to you later, Melville.